Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? It is Monday, August 26th. So, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators, to what is this, episode number 10, I think, of From the Roots. Um, if you've been watching the regular scheduled content after committing and sticking to for I think 3 months now of 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Central. Uh, we come in and we have a chat about different things, and I've been trying to kind of build from week to week to week on some of the stuff that we cover. So Mondays is typically Canadian centric, is I guess, and an opportunity to take a look at some of the wins that happen each week behind the scenes that not everybody gets a chance to see. And Mondays are you never know what's going to happen on the weekends. There's always shenanigans and insanities in clown world. So that's kind of what Mondays are about. Last Monday we had Glorraine Blaze from the Quebec lawyer that is seeking asylum in Quebec and filing with the courts there. We've got a little bit of an update from her in just a little bit here, but I want to start with saying thank you to everybody who does tune in Monday to Friday and spends an hour or three, however far we get into the weeds here, getting plugged in with community, and that's something that I take seriously and what in what we do here. Honestly, guys, I don't watch the likes. I do watch the shares because that's the only way that this message gets out because of censorship and our current regime in place. It's incredibly difficult to reach out beyond, at all in the Canadian independent media space, and it's really why. It's because we're good at what we do, and there's a lot of truth going on these days, and the deep state, meat muppet, swamp creature cabal, Mr. Globalists are getting incredibly uncomfortable, and that only happens because of all of us working together. We do what we do here on our platforms, but it here in Canada especially, it really depends on you guys and getting informed, and then knowing what you're passing forward, right? Knowing what you're sharing, being able to discuss it and carry on. And this week's going to be a little bit explosive. I'm not sure how I'm going to react covering some of these stories here tonight. It's kind of Mondays are kind of that ick day. Well, Wayne's attitude might be having a little bit of that kind of an ick day. Had some stuff going on social media platforms over the weekend. We're going to touch on some of that too. But to start things off, guys, just a friendly reminder: I've been getting some messages that people have had issues with getting, the latest stream, whatever that might be, interruptions, lagging, all kinds of weird stuff on different platforms. And hey, that's the nature of the battle that we're in right now. They make it their goal when they do these things is to make it ick for you. They want it to make it a chore to actually get to watch. They just want to make it difficult, and sooner or later, if it's more difficult than it has to be, you just give up. And one of the things that they do, if you're not plugged in daily and going searching out to the platforms, they'll just think, oh, their AI will tell them you're not interested anymore. You can unfollow that page. You don't need to see the current updates. But whatsupcanada.org has the latest show, whatever it might be, whether it's an interview or where's my mouse? I lost my mouse. Whether it's an interview or an information podcast, Fridays with Bryce. this is kind of turning into another community where we get a regular different voice to build on the information, to track it and follow it over an more extended period of time. So there's really good stuff there. And again, some really good interviews, catch up on them there. And you don't have to give any information. You don't have to subscribe to get this. This is all free on What's Up Canada and LGM.news every day. We stream live there. So if you're on the go and you don't want the chat, you don't care about the chat, that's, you can be sure it's there every day. And of course, the Substack link at the bottom, a few of our partners on top that we're partnered with for very, very specific reasons. Because it's what our community wants and needs as they're prepping for the clown world insanity. And speaking of Substack, this is what it is, whatsupcanada.substack.com. So 2 really easy places to make it easy to share. They'll still let you share Substack links on Facebook, which we're actually streaming to still tonight. Actually, after last week, I didn't think they'd let me back onto Facebook, but hey, YouTube's gone. We got Facebook back. We'll run with it for now, but always find it on Substack and whatsupcanada.org. So where are we going to start today? Tonight, I'm going to make the executive decision and start. Thanks, Old Saucy. I see that there. Yeah, whatsupcanada.org. You can subscribe from there. You can subscribe to the Substack from there. Everything is free. There is an option on Substack. If you like what I do here and you think it's worth like 50 cents a show, you can subscribe for $8 a month, and that really, really helps me out. I think I've got 20 folks over there now. Thank you very much for the subscriptions over there. But whatsupcanada.org is ground zero for all of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with a little bit of good news so I can, not get too triggered too early into the show and scare or chase everybody off. I think my Gen X might be starting to come out a little bit lately, but a little update from Lorraine. I encourage people to get plugged in to what she's doing. She's fighting to embarrass and show the world what the Trudeau regime here in Canada is, and the courts, the justice systems, on how they are abusing and criminalizing people in Canada for doing the right thing, for following the law, for doing, for standing up. How dare you in Canada? When it comes to the judiciary, she's taking that fight to a level that nobody else has thought of or has been able to do. So there's some protests and rallies organizing in Canada coming up. She mentioned that when she came on the show last week. September 8th, there's a demonstration in Ottawa. There's a Facebook group. It's growing really quickly. It's one way for people to get plugged in to express their thoughts and matters peacefully, of course, on the travesties going on in Canada. Absolutely. Star Captain Dread lawfare in Canada is brutal and it's expensive. Everybody knows what they're doing to the Coots boys. They're doing the same thing to Randy Hillier. They're doing the same thing to Dr. Trotsy, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Dr. Hoff, Dr. Bridle, all of the these doctors and people that stood in the line of fire for us are paying extreme prices for it. And for somebody to, can you imagine what it must be like in a foreign country exposing and embarrassing your government all alone? That takes courage. That takes real courage. So that lady impresses me, and I hope we can rally around her a little bit and say, hey, thank you for doing what you're doing. Wherever we are, we have an ability to make an impact and a difference. And that's just another example where it's easy to get stuck in the rut and say, I'm only one person, what can I do? Well, she's showing people what we can do. what she's done, what we can do. And that's kind of really, really why I did this too, right from the beginning, was to show people, hey, you can do this too. We can do this. It doesn't take much to provide a better media product, in my opinion, than the mainstream mercenaries do. I think almost a rock could do that. So I'm happy that I have more viewers and community than a rock does, and I'm pretty sure some days we have more viewers than mainstream media. We used to have more. We used to have significantly more. We used to be, this platform just 2.5 years ago used to reach half as many people as CBC did online. Now we reach a couple hundred an episode. Why? Because they have made it that impossible for this platform to survive. So I'm ever so grateful for you folks that are still here and still duking it out with the swamp creatures and meat muppets. So we'll start with a little bit more good news. So it's good to see her group growing. People are getting plugged in, and it's important that we've all got problems, and the problems all come from the same place. And there is really good people in Quebec that are fighting too. But this language and cultural barrier has been a manufactured wedge in this country that political powers have capitalized on since the beginning of our country. And if we're going to save humanity and ourselves in all of this disaster, we're going to have to find some things to agree upon, at least for the interim. And this is important. This is important. So show them support, and let's do things and give them the opportunity to support us in the Anglophone side of Canada as well. So this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. When I first came out to Ottawa and spent some time in 2019, it really changed what had been my worldview for most of my life. And I started to understand how damaged Canada was and who was responsible for it. So there's lots going on. That's one that I encourage people to support. Now, Dr. Trotzy, he's got some big battles coming up. I've spoken with Michael, his lawyer. We're going to have him on a show coming up real soon. And it won't be with Dr. Trotzy, simply because of protecting the case. Right. So we're at a stage here now where this is a precedent setting case. So Michael Alexander will be in to join us. I'm not sure if this week or next, but we're definitely going to have him in to get an update on that. But I digress. Back to the wins of the week as published by Dr. Mark Trotzy on his Substack. I like to, take a few pointers from this. And the reason I choose Dr. Trotzy's Substack is you'll find on here, it's a collaborative effort when they do these wins of the week with Vaccine Choice Canada and endless numbers of other people that are working together behind the scenes and don't always make their stories, their successes, their efforts don't always make it to the podcasts. They don't make it to the places where people get to see it. And that's kind of, as Grok identified last week, I'm still chuckling over that. This platform, this is kind of where we've created a bit of a niche. You don't find the same stories here as you do everywhere else. Obviously, there's going to be some overlap, but we look to try and get things that aren't the most sensational, but are still important. So Dimitri, one of our freedom warriors, is running for a VP position for the largest union in Canada, supporting professionals within the government. So if you want more on that, I'll add Dr. Trotzy's Substack link to this in my Substack tomorrow. You see how we have to kind of leapfrog each other so we can help each other get more known, get more information out through the narrowed avenues of opportunity. So yeah, that'll be that. I'm looking forward to that. I like Dimitri. Poor guy, but he's biting off a world of punishment, trying to get into that to make change. But if if anybody can, he will, right? Absolutely, Lisa. This is good news, right? We need people on the inside, 100%. We we have to take control of some of these ships, and that's getting on into the inside of some of these hive type organizations hasn't always been easy in the past, and that's how we've ended up with Fred Hans controlling some of the most corrupted union organizations in the country. So that's a good story. So Nassau County has officially passed a new mask ban into law. Yes, this isn't in Canada, but this is just the beginning of a trend. This law already exists in Canada, and this is the opposite of the mask law that we have just recently dealt with in the last couple of years. This one is saying you put masks on, and conceal your identity, especially during protests, is a misdemeanor offense, carrying a penalty of up to $1,000 in fines and a maximum of 1 year in jail. Can you imagine if our Stasi or Gestapo enforcement arms, we have this law on the books in Canada, if they enforced it, do you think so many of those Islamic radicals and the union thugs and the Antifa hacks would be occupying the and shutting down our streets and our country and calling for jihad across Canada? Do you think we would have do you think they would be raising the support of to bring in terrorist imams to travel and tour the country? Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that they're able to get away with because we don't have enforcement. So it's good to see somebody else is picking it up, and maybe if we can pressure. And this is we're in the political season. Pressure matters now. They're actually paying attention to a lot of different things. So it's interesting. I think we have more of an opportunity to steer the discussion in the public square and media and political spaces now more than ever. So this week we're going to be providing a lot of ammunition for everybody. Yeah, y'all are going to be excited a little bit later on. I've got an announcement coming up for tonight. So telling it like it is, after 2 years of cocooning himself away to give himself the space to write, Julius Rochelle is pleased to announce the release of his newest book, Plunderers of the Earth, The Erosion of Civilization, The Mad Crusade to Control the Climate, and the Untold Stories of Soil and CO2. Cool beans, I guess. I'm not real familiar, but sounds good. More information is better, always. So the CDC Control and Prevention last week reported that routine child jabs have prevented approximately 508 million cases, prevented 508 million cases of illness, blah, 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 blah. But experts who spoke with Children's Health Defense, the defender said the CDC relied on outdated disease and mortality statistics that led to laughable conclusions and ignored the real costs of adverse effects of jabs. So there's a link to more info on that. That's one that we need to be continue to light them up on in any and every public space, right? It's our friends and family that are getting devastated. See here, hey, Adazart, what is a Substack and how does someone access that? I'll get to this. What I'm reading from here is a Substack article. This is Dr. Trotsy. It allows us to deliver video, posters, information in multiple ways, completely uncensored, and it's kind of like this new publishing house type of system. And the best way to access it is from my website, whatsupcanada.org. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's not very far. And click on the button, give us an email, and you'll have daily reminders of everything that happens on this show. And Substack is cool because I can actually add documents, right? That's the best part of Substack. I talk about the stuff here, and on Substack I provide all the documents, all of the links, all of the videos, access to all of the videos, the graphics, so that you guys can download them and add those to your armories of information. So that's kind of the Substack thing. And why? Exactly. Old saucy paid protesters also hide behind masks. Thank you so much for this. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, but thank you, thank you, thank you. So back to the Substack. So Rob Schneider, Canadian comedian, has gone nuclear, I guess, against Big Pharma on Tucker Carlson, and he's not left Canada out of the fight. He's addressed Canada, and he's he's embarrassing our government, our regime here. So this is, it's good when we get a loud ally from the outside pushing against here, because that's that they notice. They don't notice when we're pushing back because they've got us censored, but when outsiders push back, that they pay attention to. So Rob Schneider, the comedian, give him a clap, give him a follow on X. He's pretty active on X. Yeah, and so yeah. Legal. An Ontario arbitrator. Yes. Some Toronto healthcare workers, 40 of them, who were fired, are they won their case. I'm not going to go into details on that. Haven't looked into it, to be honest with you. Personally, there's just too many cases like that going on. Let's see here. Yeah, Louisiana District Court has opened the door for RFK Jr. and the Children's Health Defense to have to sue the Biden administration for colluding with tech giants to censor their social media posts. This is kind of a trend that's going on in the States, and the tech giants are in full panic mode. In big ways. They've been losing some rulings. Some precedents are going against them, and they're losing control in a lot of cases. And so this is good news if the Children's Health Defense and with RFK's support and backing can open that can of worms and expose some more of the crimes against humanity that have been committed against innocent and unsuspecting societies. I know they're fighting in the U.S., but that will have a global impact against these swamp monsters. Two doctors have earned a major win in the UK's high courts, as based on this most significant piece of defamation litigation that has been seen in a very long time. So again, more doctors finally getting some victories. This is a Kalman went so far as to suggest that there's a special place in hell for the doctors who claim statins don't work. Hendrick and Harcombe sought legal advice in March 2019 and subsequently sued for libel in 2020, arguing these articles caused serious harm to their reputations. So, yeah. So a British tabloid for libel is a big win. Cool beans. I don't publish what's on here, so I just kind of skim over it so everybody can kind of have an idea where you can go and find in, and Dr. Trotsky's great about adding links to the different articles as well. So these guys kind of catch a whole bunch from everywhere, kind of put it in one place, and I funnel it through here and pass it on to all of you. So the Democracy Fund said in a press release this week that it will be defending Dr. Roger Hodkinson in his legal fight with respect to several complaints brought against him by the Colleges of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta. Yeah, I said that because they're just big, nasty fish in the swamp. The CPSA has charged Dr. Hodkinson with professional misconduct. Dr. Hodkinson was the very first one and his words were that one day this would go down as the biggest bioweapons assault against innocent and unsuspecting societies in the history of humanity. He's also remarked that officials should be jailed for being complicit in the big kill caused by the beer bug jabs. I 100% agree with him, and so that's I'm glad to see the Democracy Fund stepping up for Dr. Hodgkinson. And I guarantee you, Dr. Hodgkinson is chomping at the bit, like a angry, starved, truth-starved individual to get his opportunity to tell them exactly where the bear is pooping the buckwheat. Sorry, old Alberta adage. Does that show my age, right? Despite the recent dismissal, Justice Ricola Brinton is pushing forward with their case against former Chief Provincial Court Justice Pam Williams with the Nova Scotia Judicial Council over a dispute arising from C-19 jab policies as well. Some more on that. Look, see, for 2 years, everybody was going, where's all the lawyers? Where's all the lawyers? And as hard as it was, I know, to tell everybody, look, the wheels of justice move so slowly compared to the wheels of the internet, which are going 24/7, 365 at Wart Mock Chicken. And we don't get justice on demand. We get justice when justice gets there. And so those wheels move very, very slowly. And we've been in the lawfare season, on from the aggressive, being on the offensive side of the lawfare for some time now. So it's we're starting to see some victories come in. So Rath and Company filed in Alberta a class action with the Court of King's Bench on behalf of plaintiffs Rebecca Ingram and Christopher Scott, who have stepped forward to represent a class of private business owners and operators who found themselves impacted by policies. So they're again going on the offense, to hold the King's Court to hold the King's Courts to account and seek compensation would be my guess. That's actually a good one, Mountain Man. I like that. Wheels of justice are square. Ontario Board has been forced to release reasons for expelling Josh Alexander over his religious view. Josh Alexander was suspended by St. Joseph's Catholic High School in 2022 for speaking out against biological males being allowed to enter once protected female-only spaces. He arranged a student protest to garner support, an effort which escalated the suspension into an exclusion, resulting in his arrest. The board refused to disclose the reasons for dismissing the appeal, prompting Josh's lawyer to file an application for judicial review with the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, which in turn allowed the original court documents to be published as part of the new case. So, good stuff. Strong young man. It's the world needs more like him. We covered here over the last couple of weeks quite a bit about why the Catholic families have been targeted by the government, the regime, intelligence, Antifa, and all of those things as being the existential threat. That's why Josh Alexander is being persecuted by the government. So, some stuff on scientific studies. This one here kind of, I was listening to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson before. Now, honestly, guys, Canadians are going to have to make a really difficult decision on whose morals and values they actually want to stand upon. I will not take part in this million-person march. It's been hijacked. an infiltrator. That's why I didn't take part in it last year. I didn't endorse it last year because radical political Islam has infested and infiltrated that organization, and people are too scared to stand up on their own, and will be thrown under the bus by the same people because they don't realize that these people have no interest except for hating the gender confused, shall we say, and the indoctrination. Yes, they hate that, but we cannot meet and be allies on hate. We have to be. We have to meet and be allies on love. And the very instant these guys are done abolishing those people, those rights, make no mistake, they will fully support organizations. And this is kind of the beef people are finally starting to figure out, the leaders that are bringing the Muslim community, or I should say the Islamic community, to make this so big and huge, are also the same supporters that are encouraging the Palestinian Hamas revolt. They support UNRWA, they support Hamas, and they are calling for jihad in the streets. So this is an event that has been politically captured by political Islam, and the naive, gullible, good-hearted Canadians are getting sucked into it. And these people will stand beside you tomorrow against the gays and the trans people, and turn around the very next day and attend the event that says, off with your head, let's kick it down the street. And Canadians are still falling for this. This has been something that has really been triggering me the last little while. So no, I do not support the million person march, and they're desperate. I don't know how to describe it. You know, there's Lauren Southern has been doing resurrected a project, and I think she's doing a really good thing, because here's the thing: when it comes to political Islam, this is their fight today. Meanwhile, they're silencing women. Meanwhile, they are raping women and children. You cannot have Islam and women's rights. You cannot have Islam and any other rights. If what's going on in England isn't enough evidence for people to understand, I've got a post that's a little bit graphic, and of course it was great. Of course it was great. Of course it was great. The first one was great. Y'all got used, and it was great. But I'm telling you, this week they'll stand with you at this event and be taking. So this flusters me. There is no such thing as Islamophobia. It's a made-up word to silence you. There is no such thing as an irrational fear of Islam. I had a Muslim man ask me once. He says, Wayne, do you understand the difference between a moderate Muslim and a radical Muslim? And I said, no. He says, a moderate does not want to take your head. He will wait for the radical to take your head. That is the only difference between the moderates and the radicals. And when the radicals have enough power, the moderates fall in line. The moderates won't stand against radicals. If you ask any of these Muslim people that turn up at this million-person march, who do they support, Israel or Hamas? Watch it go freaking sideways. This makes me so angry, because my anger comes from watching a young man walking down the street in England, in a city, with his girlfriend and his baby, and getting stabbed in the neck by one of those people. They don't give two shits. They will smile at your face and stand with you for this march and hide behind their pylon costumes and then take your head the very next day because you've probably given them your address, invited them over for coffee. Sorry, I got to get off of that one. I really do, because I'm only going to get more enraged. They're pushing Bill C-63. They're pushing Islamophobia bills. That they're going to silence me first. Then who is going to say the things that nobody has the guts to say? Who's going to do the things to educate people on these things? Nobody else is going to talk to you about the reality of this. The police are going to protect them. The government is going to protect them. They are already sold out to them. They already prostrate themselves to them. We have to stop. We have to stop this, guys. And I don't care. They can call me racist. It's not about race. It's about ideology. It's 100%, 100% about ideology. I'm going to pull up this meme or graphic just because it's so relevant. 1,400 years this ideology has been around, and they have massacred 669 plus million in that 1,400 years. They will not assimilate. They will smile and lie to your face and take your head the next day when they're told to. They will sell you out to the guy that wants to take your head for a nickel. Why? Because if they don't, they know that their heads will be next, because that's the way this group rolls. And this is who our governments and police and enforcement agencies protect and serve. This is where these laws come from. This is where the censorship comes from. The censorship comes from fear, all right? Not fear of what the kids might see or hear, but fear for themselves. Because if they knew the truth, no, let me rephrase that. They know the truth. That when they're starting to use our heads like soccer balls in our streets, we'll come for them. If they're protecting themselves, that's what censorship is about. They fear you knowing the truth and acting upon it. They fear us coming together and doing something to, and this is again not calling for violence. I'm just telling you guys what's coming. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just telling you guys what's happening and what's coming. So now they are making their big move. Yeah. It's about ideology. 100%, Linda. And we have to fight the ideology. They're going to start, well, they already have. They're already replacing our police with Arabic police. They're replacing our military with foreigners, and that's only going to escalate. So that's already here. And the worst genocidal ideology in the history of humanity is they're not knocking at the door anymore. See, that's the problem. They've stopped knocking. They're walking right in, and they're taking what they want. And Ezra Levant has been on about the imam that's traveling across the country calling for jihad. We had Natasha on 2 weeks ago, who filmed in Montreal these people calling to take our heads and threatening that if we do not support them enthusiastically, then they'll take ours too. And this is the infighting. This is the infight that's going on between the leadership of the Million Person March. So they've infiltrated it. They're taking it over. And I got to give props to Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, because she's withdrawn from it. She will not take part. She will not support. She will not endorse it as well. So that, I think, is something that we're all going to have to start taking really seriously. And they're going to scream racism. They're going to scream Islamophobia, and they're going to try to come for us, particularly big mouths like me and Laura Lynn, that are telling people what's going on. So this, just a couple of other headlines here on this. Telegram founder Pavel Durov, they've issued 12 charges for him. He is the creator of Telegram. We have a significant following on Telegram. I can tell you that if it wasn't for Telegram, the world wouldn't know the truth about Ukraine. The world wouldn't know the truth about a whole lot of other things. And the allegations that they're making against him, there's 12 of them now that they're charging him with. My question for everybody out there, and why I wanted to bring this up, is they've tried the same thing, the same charges basically on Elon Musk. It's the same thing they've tried on Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, the creator of Mega, the file sharing program. But yet, all of the things that they allege happened on his platform here. So I'm just going to read this investigation for charges of complicity, webmastering an online platform in order to enable an illegal transaction in organized groups. Refusal to communicate at the request of competent authorities information or documents necessary for carrying out and operating interceptions allowed by law. This is the same thing that's tried on the Rumble guys as well. Complicity, possessing pornographic images of minors. Complicity, distributing, offering, or making available pornographic images of minors in organized groups. Complicity, acquiring, transporting, possessing, offering, or selling narcotic substance. Says complicity, offering, selling, or making available without legitimate reason, equipment, tools, programs, or data designed for or adapted to get access to and to damage the operation of an automated data processing system. Complicity, organized fraud, criminal association with a view to committing a crime or an offense punishable by 5 or more years of imprisonment, laundering of the proceeds derived from organized groups' offenses and crimes, providing cryptology services aiming to ensure confidentiality without certified declaration, providing a cryptology tool not solely ensuring authentication or integrity monitoring without prior declaration, importing a cryptology tool ensuring application or integrity. This is simply because he won't let the intelligence agencies come in and set up shop in his offices. Like I said, exactly the same thing that they did to attempting to do to Rumble ownership, to X Twitter ownership, and anybody else out there that is not under their, New World Order or WEF Fourth Reich control. So the illusion of freedom on these speeches on these platforms, and going into an election year, the fear porn with the bioweapons programs, that's not working this year. The election fraud, that's not going to plan either. So the propaganda isn't working, so they have to crack down, double down, triple down on all of the censorship. So this is why we're seeing the assaults and attacks on everybody and anybody and everybody that is in the space. So I wanted to bring up this graphic and get your guys' opinion on what you thought of this list, because every other item on the right was deemed fake news, misinformation, malinformation, and anybody who dared to speak the truth about any of these subject matters was demonized, criminalized, abused, and in some cases even jailed. So it's quite an extensive list. So we've got Hunter's laptop, the mRNA vax harm, pandemic, lockdown, ivermectin efficacy, hydroxychloroquine efficacy, that's what HCQ stands for, face mask uselessness, censorship on social media, Epstein sex island, elite pedophilia, biolabs, Ukraine, child trafficking, Russiagate, Steele dossier, Ukraine corruption. Guys, these, every single one of these subjects I've paid a price for, as many of you are, and I'm not trying to take anything. You guys have all been put through the meat grinder of the war, the informational war on on all of these subjects. And at the end of the day, the analysts, the alternative analysts, the authentic analysts have been proven correct on all of these. So I thought that was rather interesting, and I wanted you guys to understand. Again, all of those check marks wouldn't have come without us working together as a community, and getting the truth out there. That's a lot of things that we've all had an impact on. So, slight change of direction. The Ukraine has officially entered re-entered the Stone Age. Over the course of yesterday and today, the Russians have struck 65 of their intended targets, and struck a target in every single province and region in the Ukraine. The only city that was spared this missile barrage was Kiev. And I have to tell everybody that they were so highly selective that they took out infrastructure and electricity. There was no civilian targets in this response. This was Russia's response to Ukraine's assaults and attacks and seizure of Russian territory, and threatening a nuclear reactor in Kursk. And they crossed Putin's red line. This is, honestly something, guys, if this had been the U.S., when they went into Iraq, for example, they did this on day one. On day one in Iraq, they struck every single infrastructure facility in that country. So the amount of restraint that Putin has demonstrated over the last 2 years of this, to the point here now where he has finally done something significant in response to this proxy war that's been waged against him by the Ukraino-Nazis, the Banderites, slaughtering innocent Ukrainians in their World War II Nazi ideology still. And here we are again, talking about ideology and the number of people that they kill. And this is something that has really pissed me off here in Canada too. Seeing Garnet Genius and Pierre Poilievre virtue signaling how they're going to stand with the Ukrainian people to the end. You assholes are only killing innocent Ukrainians, supporting a Nazi regime that has jailed all of its political opposition. He has no mandate. He's expired and exceeded that. He has outlawed and forbidden religion. He has committed heinous acts of war crimes, and this is what our both political parties, like clapping seals in Parliament, supporting Nazis and virtue signaling every step of the way. It's disgusting to me. I get called a Putin lover, a Putin propagandist. That triggers me, given that even our legacy media up till 2019 was reporting that our government, Trudeau government, was supporting, funding, and training Nazis in the Ukraine. They actually used the big N word, the big boy words in our legacy media. And these guys continue this, but yet they are the ones that fight for democracy and protection of freedom of speech and blah blah blah, all of the vomit that they espouse. I told you you were getting the Monday cranky version of Wayne. So it's going to we're about halfway through what I wanted to cover, and I can't even count the number of rants I've kind of gotten in the weeds on here tonight. So I guess we'll see if I'm still around tomorrow. But this is a piece from Sebastian Sauce, who I've really become a huge fan of. He's got this quirky little sense of humor and an accent, but his analysis is spot on. So I encourage people to get over there and follow him. But that's a quick update on Ukraine. We're gonna touch on that a little bit more here. But first up, before that, we've got Viktor Orban, another another guy that has he has taken abuse, and that, I guess before. Geez, I'm going to be way over on this show. I kind of initially had intended to play some of this, but so Viktor Orban's been taking a lot of abuse. They're what are they, €1 billion or €1 million a day finding him for not opening his borders to the mass migration program, or the mass invasion program, to be more accurate. He's said no to that, and he's going to explain to us here in 2.5 minutes. And I'm going to play this full clip for everybody. But what they're what they're not telling you is they're turning off the energy to Hungary, because he won't get involved and he won't allow themselves to be invaded through the mass invasion program. And yet Hungary supplies a boatload of electricity to Ukraine. So the hypocrisy from this NATO, you nailed it, Allison. I'm 100%. NATO is a terrorist organization, and our little Ottawa meat muppets love it. 100%. I'm not going to say it's full of Nazis, but they are the controlling segment of the political regime, and the big lie that is Ukraine. This was 100% facilitated by Chrystia Freeland and her mother, and at the behest and bidding of George Soros, who, incidentally, you're going to hear a little bit about him here right away. But yeah, Chrystia, I have to unfortunately admit, she early in her youth grew up in my hometown. She still pretends like that's her hometown, but we all knew who she was, what she was, where she came from, and she kind of left and went when her mom got appointed to fix the judicial system in the Ukraine. Stephen Harper sent her over to fulfill that task. Yeah, go Conservatives. And from that point on, basically George took her under his wing, and provided for the European elite education. So she got educated in Kiev and Rome and Paris, where she still holds properties to this day. And she was in Maidan in 2014 when people were getting killed on the streets, meeting with George and some others as well. So yeah, Canada has been heavily supportive of the Nazi regime in the Ukraine, and the money laundering and the crime and the George Soros, and and Trudeau, he does it through proxy. When George Soros bought MasterCard, Trudeau gave him another $50 million bonus. Hey, go George, moving up in the world. But I digress. Back to the story. So Viktor Orban, telling you that mass migration is no accident and who's behind it.
I do remember how Mr. George Soros published his plan in English in a Project Syndicate publication. It was done 2015, September 26. And he published a plan. He said that I'm quoting, here are the 6 components of my comprehensive plan. And just quote 2 or 3 points of that. First, he said very clearly, 2015, that, quoting again, EU has to accept at least 1 million asylum seekers annually. That's the first point. Second, he said, adequate financing is critical. And he proposed to issue long-term euro bonds for financing the migration crisis and the migrants' social and welfare taking care when they arrive to the European Union. And another point which is very important for Hungary, which is involving the territory of Hungary directly into this program, he said that, quoting them, safe channels must be established for asylum seekers, starting with getting them from Greece and Italy to their destination countries, which means to bring them to Greece, to Hungary, and then have them go to Austria. So don't forget that what we are speaking about is not an accidental stories, not the bulk of 10 years of accidental stories. It's a plan which is going on. It was written, it was published, it's known. So we are fighting against an organized gang called Empire of George Soros, NGOs, who are just supporting everybody who is transgressing our legal system and our regulation and financing illegal activity against our nation. So this is why the story is not just about migration, but it's about how this European Union is working and how George Soros was able to captive the main positions inside many institutions of European Union, buying out MPs and other leaders, and in order to execute the plan which is written, and it's against all the Christian and nation-based political forces. It's against us. It's about how to change Europe and how to eliminate and push aside all the Christian, conservative, national-based political leaders and voters from the European Union decision-making body. So this is the migration about, not just about migration. Sorry for.
So when we try and bring that up here, what happens? I mean, this is a national leader. He's been the president of that country for a very long time, doing an admirable job for them. But you bring that up here, and you are deemed a conspiracy theorist, right? You're a far right radical. You're dangerous. How dare you talk about this kind of misinformation, malinformation? And meanwhile, these guys are literally infiltrated, captured our country, and are now invading it with an ideology that they know will wipe us from the face of the planet. And they won't think twice about it. This is what they're doing. And they think that these meat muppets like Trudeau, they think that they can escape this. They cannot. They cannot. Osama bin Laden didn't escape. Saddam Hussein didn't escape. Uh, 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 none of them escape. They end up in gutters like Muammar Gaddafi. And that's where Trudeau's going to end up too. And it's not going to be us that are going to do it to him. It's going to be these people right here when they are done with him. What we need to understand is I'm going to come across some a couple more here, and I'm going to a couple more. So now this is the gaslighting. This is the lie that pisses me off about the Conservative Party of Canada. So Trudeau's now backtracking on his temporary worker program, blah, 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 lying, of course. And then you've got Pierre Poilievre, who's going to capitalize it. And Sean Fraser opened the floodgates for low-wage foreign workers, specifically in Canadian communities with high unemployment rates where our youth can't get work. So corporations could treat them like modern slaves, in words of the UN. And he's trying to point the finger at Trudeau and the Liberal Party of Canada, while ultimately denying, 100% denying, that he kind of did too when he signed the damn Paris Accords and the Migration Compact. So there's that little elephant in the room that really pisses me off, right? Really irritates me. And I'm not the only one. Y'all know who this is. I'm going to play this whole clip, and then I've got an announcement for y'all.
So I made a bit of a controversial post yesterday, basically calling out the Conservative Party of Canada, calling them shills, calling them liberals in blue, which they are. Now, a lot of people agreed with me, which kind of sent the whole Conservative Party into a frenzy today with, oh, we all agree that we should be shutting money to like foreign aid and money laundering and that we stand with NATO, blah, blah, blah. And everybody disagreed. So I'm going to say this. This will be my last political post on Canadian politics because I honestly can't anymore. If you guys want to know where I stand, I think they're all shills. Every single one of them. Screw the Green Party, screw the NDP, screw the Liberals, and screw the Conservatives. If we're all being very honest, we basically agree with Maxime Bernier, but we want Justin Trudeau out so bad that we will vote for the Conservatives, and we wish that what Maxime or Bernier says that Poilievre says, but he doesn't. Poilievre was pro-vaccines, and he's tried to scrub that video off the internet, but guess what? I found the transcripts of him asking for more vaccines and faster. Let me show you. This is basically a transcript of Pierre Poilievre asking for vaccines faster. It says, Mr. Speaker, it is because I looked through it, and there was no plan for jobs or for growth to debate. All the Prime Minister has done is lock down businesses that provide the jobs and growth. He has locked them down through his failure and his failure alone to deliver the vaccines that are opening up economies around the world. Interesting. The President of the United States said every single adult in America is now eligible for vaccines. Here in Canada, we have not even had 30 vaccines for 100 people. That is the contrast. Now, what's also interesting is Pierre Poilievre's wife, Anna, who apparently is from Venezuela, whose father was a banker in Venezuela who came here to Canada and is saying that he was a farmer. A simple farmer, a hardworking man. She was pro-lockdowns, but they scrubbed that off the internet. Her little post where it said, stay the F home. Yeah, Anna, that was you. So technically, you guys are all on the same side. And the only one that's actually speaking out against everything that Canadians feel is Maxime Bernier. But as I said, we don't want to split the vote. And because the whole political situation in Canada is so that we want Justin Trudeau out really bad, and Canadians, all they do is, vote conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal. It's like the same hamster wheel cycle. And all I want to say is it's all a matrix. It's all a game. There's people in London who are betting on these people. And they're betting on the sheep and how they will vote. And they think that votes will actually help. And you think that you're going to vote your way out of this tyranny that has set in Canada. And the best part is I had all the bots come out. And they're like, oh, are you a Russian bot? Are you like a Russian spy? Yeah, like, okay. What does Russia have to do with what is going on in Canada right now? Canada is so insignificant in any sort of the way because it is literally soiling itself through sustainability and pro-UN garbage that literally every single party holds. That includes the NDP, who's been sucking and gobbling more Justin Trudeau balls than his own freaking wife while he was married to her. You've got the Green Party, who's led by a drunk old white woman who literally has no idea
An American.
what she's saying and what she's doing. And then you've got the Liberals that everybody hates because they're idiots, and we've seen what they've done to Canada in the last 9 years. And then you have the Conservatives who have now switched. Why? Because they want to buy your votes. And they switched during the trucker protest. So here's my question to you Conservatives, because I know you watch my page. If you really truly are the opposite of Liberals, then tell me, are you going to reverse the pew-pew ban that's in Canada? Probably not. Are you going to sign out off of the Paris Accord agreement? Probably not. Right? Why is every single Conservative, even Premier, saying that they want more immigration into Canada, and they're saying we have a housing problem? No, we don't. We have an illegal immigration issue, and you want Canadians to pay for them with their tax money. And then you're going to bring in the UBI, right? The Universal Basic Income, and you're going to tell them how amazing it is, right? Because it's not. And we've seen how that works during 2020. But hey, whatever. Send your bots after me. And those of you who are calling me a shill and saying, maybe just give them a chance. We already have. Okay, we've given these conservatives, liberals, and all of these parties so many chances. And I totally understand why a lot of people are like, well, we can't vote for Bernier because we're not going to get enough votes to get Justin Trudeau out. Let me just tell you something. The London people, like the millionaires who bet on who's going to vote who in every single country around the world, they already know the conservatives are going to come in. The whole thing is just a theatrical BS bullshit. But at the end of the day, they're all going to take us down the exact same road. And now you're going to ask, well, what are the solutions? Well, I'm going to make a bunch of videos about how you personally, without working with anybody or giving a crap about the political, theatrical bullshit of the Matrix, can actually get out of this individually. And then hopefully a lot of people can connect with each other. And that way we can kind of gain control over our own lives. But at the end of the day, if you guys are wondering where I stand politically, they're all assholes. I hate all of them. They can all go suck it. Suck a big old donkey ball. I don't care.
She is something else, isn't she? And so I guess that kind of brings me, I guess, to the announcement that I'm going to have for y'all. And just rather than pulling up all of the comments, here's the announcement. Wednesday, guys. Yeah. So there you go, Janina Millet. So on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, you're definitely going to want to make sure you are tuned in here, where we are going to tackle. We've come up with a cunning plan. We've talked about this. We got into a discussion yesterday that went viral based on that rant that I just played for you. She posted that yesterday. I put up a comment on it, and you can see the comment. Just now, I have to bounce this around. The comments that I posted that went kind of crazy. This is not. I said that not even Max can fix Canada. No politician can. The only fix is to do what Iceland, Barbados, and once upon a time America did, and hold constitutional conventions. Jail the politicians, and the best part is the debt they created would be theirs. The debt goes with the criminals. It's called odious debt. Canadians would be debt-free and free, and we would get to choose the management of our country that would answer to us, right? So sadly, Canadians are ignorant of reality and will continue to play lemming political theater until they are extinct. And I hate to be so cranky about it, but it's literally getting that way. This is almost where we have literally come to. Now, this brings me to the next post where I'm going to dogpile onto this. And this is kind of, so what I'm doing is I'm taking you guys through the path of where it comes to us hatching this cunning little plan, right? So also, I think this was yesterday or perhaps the day before, I had posted this little gem for a reality check. Canada, the Liberal Party are grifters and crooks. The Conservative Party are grifters and crooks. The Bloc Party, grifters and crooks. NDP Party, grifters and crooks. The PPC Party, grifters and crooks. All of them are grifters and crooks. Why? Because if any member of these parties is not fully engaged in the process of seating a de jure Canada, they are active accomplices to the crimes against every Canadian. If they don't do that, they do not serve the best interest of their electorate. That is the best interest of their electorate, is for us to be free, right? So ignorance is no longer an excuse. I can't accept ignorance as an excuse any longer. They all participate in unlawful and increasingly harmful, non-representative activities of a de facto, unlawful, and captured Canada. It's not even a conspiracy theory. It's what's going on, right? So you owe no allegiance to your criminal captors. They hold no lawful authority over you except by our implied consent. When I sat down with Federal Minister Derek Sloan and I asked him about that, he laughed. He laughed in our faces. And he said, who cares if we're criminals? We ruled through implied consent. That wasn't the only despicable, disgusting thing that he said to us that day, but that was enough for me, where I wrote him off as being just another grifter and crook. So everything else, and this is just my opinion as I wrote it on X, everything else is theater. Politicians won't tell you the truth. Google won't tell you any of this either. And everything else is a distraction. There is no party solution. Revolution is not an option. There is only one peaceful path. Iceland did it, Barbados did it, the United States of America did it. Canadians must do it before it's too late. The unlawful people in office have made their choice to facilitate our invasion and destruction with a hostile foreign ideology, and every last one of them is sold on, well, even a little bit of it. We have to have migration. We just have to streamline it, and you'll make it better. And yeah, no. Political Islam has to go. They just have to go home. That's not racist. That is saving our lives. That is getting the poisonous suicide pill out of our country. So the court of public opinion, Canadians, you, me, we, us, all of us must engage in constitutional conventions in order to seat a de jure Canada. Every misery befalling Canada stems from the people's ignorance in this very fact. Ignorance meaning we don't know. The majority of Canadians don't know. They don't have a freaking clue. And if we don't fix this, nobody else will. Nobody's going to save us. Islam will own us, and they are counting on us remaining ignorant to this. So this is how, because of our ignorance, they have been able and allowed or able to gain our implied consent to literally invade us under the auspices of, foreign entities, unelected bad actors. They have us so focused on the 11, they're not looking at any of the other 227, which by definition, by action, by their own actions, their own obfuscation, their own denial, Pierre Poilievre signed the same agreements. And when asked about it, said no, he won't remove us from that. Max has a darker side than that yet either, but I don't need to go after him. He's done it himself. His party is a fraud. It's a mini dictatorship. And at the end of the day, doesn't matter. PPC, NDP, Bloc Party, Conservative, Liberal, doesn't matter. Ask him. Will you make it your only priority to to host constitutional conventions and seat a de jure Canada? This is why, until we make Canada a lawful country, which the last time when Canadians were getting ready for this, what did they do? Caused a Great Depression and a world war. What are they doing now? So that we don't get on board with this? Causing the Great Depression, starting a world war. Wash, rinse, repeat. So it has to be us. It has to be people like myself and Tayana and all of you out there. We have to understand this. Our ignorance is our death. We are going to be, in some regards, we are going to be the most highly educated, propagandized corpses in the graveyard. We'll know every political in and out that these clowns and actors and grifters and crooks have perpetrated. So this is why our participation does that. So now now that we know this, becomes our duty. I ask every one of these politicians, will you make this a priority to host constitutional conventions and seat a de jure Canada? That's it. Leave it at that. They will ignore you. Why? Because they're grifters and crooks. Every last one of them is living at the trough of the crime, of the ignorance, the manufactured ignorance that is allowed, the invasion on the future, the impending destruction of our society. These guys, all of them, there is not one of them that if they're not moving to seat a de jure, if they don't care about a de jure Canada, that's the answer. They don't care about your freedom. And we will bear the burden of slavery forever, owing to pay their debt. This is the part that we don't understand. Debt is slavery. When you make a promise, when you take a loan, you're making a promise, you're making a commitment to however many hours it takes of your life to repay that debt. You're now a slave to that debt. And Trudeau has amassed so much debt. Every successive generation of Canadian will be a slave to that debt because of the fraud and the theater of these grifters and our continued implied consent. I don't know how more plain I can make this. And that's what Tayana and I will be digging headlong into, talking about constitutional conventions and how do we, I'm going to pull this up, this other one. And how do we blow up the trough? We're going to talk about exactly how to screw every last one of these politicians over, put the burden back on them of debt, the burden of crimes back on them, and then we get to decide. And this is undeniable for them. They can't stop this. If we organize correctly, and we're going to be talking about this on Wednesday, and we'll have plenty of resources. So this is why I'm spending so much time on this. We're going to be depending on, Tayana and I, we want to build on this. We want to start the grass fire that burns down the trough. But it's got to be us, we the people. She's got the guts to get into this fight. Tune in on Wednesday. Get plugged into the resources and information that we're going to bring you. And just teach people. And have to, I saw a comment up here a little while ago. You have reluctant friends. Here's the deal, guys. And this is the Wednesday, the Monday grouchy Wayne kind of being a little bit hard. It's the warrior in me. I have friends. I care about them deeply. But I will not allow myself to be exterminated because of their ignorance. Won't happen. All they are going to do by continuing to deny reality is endanger me. I won't do that. Because that takes me, the protector, away from other people. So we're going to have to start making some hard decisions. We can't have Islam and women's rights. We can't have Islam and Christianity. We can't have Islam and freedom. We cannot have this political system and freedom. That's all going to be extinguished. They will kill all of that in Canada. And we will be the first post-nation Islamic state under the control of the United Nations. And we've talked a lot about that. Now, I have no problem with peoples from the Middle East that do not believe in Islam. And I have met some Middle Eastern Christians. Some of them are the most persecuted people in our country because people see them, they say they're from Iran, and right away we assume that they're from the dark side of that. And no, some of them can be Christians, but they can't be both. Right? So we have to get better at figuring out the difference between Islam and Middle Eastern people. It's not racist. It's about ideology, and we need to protect ourselves. We need to hold the governments to account. The fastest way to do that is through constitutional conventions. And like I've said a bunch of times, if Iceland can do it, if Barbados can do it, why the hell can't we? All right. Barbados is still in a transition process, and there is a process to this. But at the end of the day, the thing to remember, and they have chosen to be a constitutional republic like the United States. The people get to decide. We follow the process as the world recognizes it, and whether it was 1776 in the American Constitution or the 2011 Constitution of Iceland, that process is recognized and they will comply. And this is what Canada has been waiting for since 1931, and the parasites took over on the wounded intellectual level of our good people of Canada. Our people after World War II were incredibly wounded. We sacrificed an awful lot. Canadians fought in that conflict from day one, not from day 1941, but from day one in 1939. So Canadians were vulnerable post-war, and by then life was good for the parasites at the belly of the bellied up to the trough of the political establishment. So on Wednesday at 6 p.m., we're going to start our quest to screw the politicians once and for all, every last one of them, every last one of them. And that starts on Wednesday. So yeah, now I had a whole bunch more lined up. I don't think I'm going to go that far with this one. I'm going to save some of this for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be targeting at a slightly higher altitude than our corrupt local politicians. And just such a huge comment here, Janina. Your parents were taken by the Germans. Took my parents, 13 and 17, into labor camps, starved daily, and they were never the same again. That's my concern about the Canada we moved to in 1953. He was a ditch digger for years in Canada, built 3 perfect homes on his own, including plumbing and electrical work. He only had a grade 6 in Poland. They were really concerned about education and work ethic. Yeah, and that's the Canadian way. That's the Canadian identity. It's the people that have lived here, but this is all under threat right now by the same dark forces and people, criminals. They're all criminals and crooks. Every last one of them, including Max, knows it. He plays the game. He wants in. He wants into the big game. That's Max's thing. So there isn't one of them that is doing the right thing for Canadians. There isn't one of them that's doing the right thing to set us free, right? So, yeah, a lot of ranting on my parts today, guys. See if there's anything really important that I missed. 100%. We need to focus on set Canada free, and then we get to decide in the process. I don't know how. I don't know what it's going to be that's going to be the thing that helps people understand this. We're going to start going at them again, like I said, on Wednesday. That's going to be the place to start on Wednesday. All right, so help me over today and tomorrow. If you guys can help me get this particular show out there and this message for people to tune in on Wednesday. If they feel like a political orphan, good. They should. They 100% should. If they are part of the silent majority, they need to hear what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday, because it's the only actual damn solution. And I don't care about the party bots that want to come out. And I've already getting spammed by them. It's funny because the worst of them are the PPC supporters. They're worse than the rabid left, right? So this is they can do whatever they want because they don't live in the real world. They do that on because it's online, and there's nobody that's going to crack them in the teeth for being the problem. So we're going to start putting the solution together, because they're not one of them in any of those parties is ever going to willfully or intentionally give us any solution. They're not interested in actual solution. Just to refresh everybody. Every last one of them. And these links, all this is going to be in the Substack tomorrow morning. But it's the thing I want people to remember is we don't owe these criminals our allegiance. We don't owe them our servitude. We don't owe them anything, nothing. But we're going to have to get connected outside of good reminder. Yeah, no signal. I mean, we're going to have to do whatever we can, but get it into the real world, get it into offline systems. I like Substack right now a lot because I'm able to connect with people there without intervention. But the social media platforms, particularly the ones that we access on our devices, are going to be difficult at their whimsy. Why? Because none of us own the digital real estate that we are on. You know, we don't own a bolt-in Facebook. We don't own a bolt-in Rumble or X or any of these platforms. So we're at their mercy. So it's been some time. Again, like building a country and reestablishing it. We're building those things as we go, and it's like the courts. It takes longer to. We needed these things years ago already, yes, but they didn't exist. So we're building it as we go, right? So much of that. Wimkin is a platform that we use as well because it's it's somebody who's just like us, but he started a little earlier and he built something like Facebook that competes with Facebook. So 100% right. They will never reform, Allison. They have to be dismantled. 100%. 100%. So tomorrow will be kind of a carryover from some of this, and thanks again for helping out. And I'll post I won't have a link on Rumble for Tayana's show on Wednesday until about this time tomorrow, but I guess you'll have to tune in tomorrow for that. All right, I love you guys all. Stay mighty, my fellow warriors and patriots and prisoners. I used to say hostages, but I'm going with prisoners now because we don't have, nobody's paying a ransom for us. We're going to have to escape and take over the prison for ourselves. And that's going to be, I wish there was, far more successful people with reach than myself that were doing this, but until they come to the table and help out, we got to do what we got to do. So like Ayn Rand said, it's not it's the smallest group of people that actually make the biggest change in the world, right? So we'll start here. We'll start Wednesday with Tayana Truth Seeker once again, and in the meantime, I love you all. Stay mighty, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And yeah, check out these partners that we have here coming up with the supply chain interruptions. These guys are going to be, if you're plugged in before the supply chain interruptions, you're going to appreciate it a whole lot more than trying to get plugged in afterwards. All right. Love you all. See you tomorrow.